I should be able to do such kind of work that stays back when I am not there. I more so love to travel by road. The culture, the heritage, I can connect with people. It's just like a necklace of beads. It's now more than 30 years. I'm enjoying my life, going to different places because I love India.
Hello and welcome to Chaibrary. We are very happy to welcome a very well-known fine art photographer, Mr. Sanjay Das.
Thank you so much for inviting me for this discussion. Thank you so much.
So, your journey in art is an extremely fascinating one. From a watercolor artist with training in academic art, you moved to photography. Could you sort of tell us about it?
Jyoti, it all started way back when I was in school. I always was very much attracted towards doing some comic characters and looking at the Mandrake and Phantom, which we used to very much cherish reading those days. Uh, Gradually, then I picked up art as my subject in school, where I got a very, very intense, very dedicated art teacher whose name is Manav Banerjee, which Mr. Anandamay Banerjee has also mentioned earlier. He was a person who used to make artists. He used to select students and then he used to prepare them in such a way that they finally used to become good artists in their future careers. So from there, I got my training under him, and gradually I got through my art college selection, where I entered the art college as a student of applied arts. But you know, an artist is an artist, so always was very much into life drawing. My line drawing was very strong all through my career, and I was very much attracted towards watercolor painting, where we used to spend a lot of time during our college time doing a lot of watercolors, doing live drawings, and very fortunate to have professors like Niren Sen Gupta, then Falguni Das Gupta, who was a very leading watercolor artist of when we were students in art college. Then Pranab Chakravarti, who was a fantastic line drawing artist. Then we had other teachers like Mr. Jay Jharotia sir, who was into printmaking. Then so we got a very beautiful array of artists who have taught us how to see things. So that was the very first education we got, that you have to learn how to see. Taking pictures, taking images is, it's not a hit and run kind of a thing. You have to understand the environment, you have to understand the situation, you have to get the pulse of the person whom you are shooting, you have to get the emotion of that whole scenario where you are. So that was what we were taught in those early days of our college. Then I was not very much sure that I am ultimately going to pick up camera. But what happened that gradually when we passed out from college, there was a definitely a pressure of earning and all that, which is in there in the normal life of everyone. So I picked up into advertising work. There I did my service for only 6 months. I couldn't continue beyond that. That was just because that I couldn't confine myself into a cabin, which normally used to be assigned to a creative director in an art agency. So I left my job and I started doing freelancing and I started traveling. And that is how gradually I took up photography as my passion and I followed that. It's now more than 30 years I'm doing photography, enjoying my life, going to different places, and I more so love to travel by road. That's my second passion. First is to do photography and then to travel by road. So I can connect with people. I go to different places. While traveling, I'm meeting so many people, so many different kinds of terrains I'm covering. I'm shifting from one location to another. The faces are changing, their habitat is changing, their clothings, their food habits, the culture, the heritage. So that actually attracts me so much. So I prefer, whenever I am traveling, I try and pick up my car and my camera kit and travel as much I can, because I love India and I love traveling within our country.
So it's both, traveling inspired you to photography, and photography further inspired you back into traveling.
True.
So they both are quite interrelated.
Yes.
I was also wondering that looking at your enormous body of photographs that you've done and your artworks, how do you think that the idea of culture, tradition, and something that is being erased from India is a major determinant in your art of photography?
See, the very first thing what I felt when I picked up my camera, initially I used to go to Ladakh a lot. I have almost traveled 7 to 10 times by road to Ladakh, and so in different other modes by flight and all, definitely more than that. But by road, I have traveled a lot to that terrain, and I used to feel that it's a beautiful, picture perfect space. Anyone can go and click a very beautiful and be very confident that yes, I'm a very good photographer, because the space is so beautiful, the sky is so blue, the waters are blue, and the rest of the things are so perfectly placed that whatever you click, you will be very confident that yes, I've got a very good image. But after a few years, what I felt was that what is my responsibility as a photographer? My responsibility is just not to click some beautiful pictures. Definitely, that is also a part of it. I don't deny that at all. But to me, my personal view was that I should be able to do some such kind of work that stays back when I am not there. That should help the society to understand the time which I am into, and when they are going to follow that time, they should be able to relate between both, and that yesteryear should give the roots to understand that how deep, how sensitive our culture, our ethos are. So that is how I try to relate my work with. That is my whole motive of doing documentation. I do documentation kind of work where I have traveled to different places, right from north to south to east to west, and documented things which are now fading away from us in terms of our culture, in terms of our heritage. You may say other different kinds of things, food habits and whatnot. Everything is very much involved, but we don't realize it till it is gone, totally gone, and we have no documentation of that. So that is what I feel that is my responsibility to do it at this present of time, so that in future, whenever the next generation is coming and they are viewing those visual documentation, they can relate with what we are.
That's very interesting because, on the one hand, is historical writing or simply collecting facts or reporting, but that does not. And I think we all need to understand this. Like you are actually practicing it. Uh, the kind of love and the kind of nostalgia that comes in a well documented, beautifully shot photograph, which is an artwork, and the feelings of loss that that particular photograph can evoke in the viewer. No amount of reading, simply reading in history books that this used to exist. And I think perhaps you're so right, because that's what is the need of the day, that we need to get people again very fascinated with what is happening, with what is happening now, and how we need to preserve whatever is now and whatever was in our past. And that seems to be a major part of your work. I was also wondering that in order to do this particular thing, what did you have to move too much away from the technique, the standard conventional technique of photography, or did you venture too far from it? And obviously, this what you're doing is very far from commercial photography. So, as far as using unconventional methods, what is your take on that?
See, this unconventional method is my keyword, because you see, what we normally intend to see is what is my camera having the features like, what is the depth of field, what is the lens I am using. These are very important factors, but they are for the first level of my work. That is what I feel. Even at times what happens that I am shooting when I'm shooting these kind of documentary things, there are so many things which has to be documented backhand for me, because I cannot remember each and every image with all the details. So I tend to take some photographs through my phone also, mobile phone. So now what happens that when I'm clicking with mobile phone and my professional camera, and when I come back from my travel and I sit back and see both the works, at times I feel that my mobile images are much more talking to me rather than what I have taken through my professional camera. So why I'm saying this is that equipment is important, but it is not always very important. It is that how much you are able to connect with the subject. That connection, because you are not thinking at that time with your mind. Your mind is trained enough to understand that what is to be done, because that is what our primary learning was from our professors, our art college, of understanding of composition, light, texture, what mode we have to shoot and all that. But what is more important is that what kind of mood I am able to connect with that particular space where I am and what I am trying to shoot. So for that, those kind of equipments are at times not very important for me. For me, it is what I am shooting is more important than my equipment at times. So that is what I feel.
So you're very subject centric in your approach, and many of your works that I've seen, they are in black and white, but some of them are also in brilliant colors. So could you elaborate on that? What is your thought process?
See, when I start a project, whatever project I normally work on a complete making or something which is a storytelling kind of a thing, right from the beginning till whatever stage it is at the present time. So where there I feel that when I'm seeing a subject, I decide that that is my intuition which helps me to decide whether I should be doing it in color or I should be doing it in black and white. So more so I have been doing, I love doing black and white because that is something very close to me. And my ongoing project, which is the longest project I'm working on, is the Bengal project, which is now almost 10 years I'm working on. So there I have been documenting the black and white format because I want to show the yesteryear feel. So for that, black and white is just the right way of depicting, because colors at times distract you. They give you the sense of the present time. So that is where I tried to take the images in black and white. But again, within Bengal, I am documenting the terracotta temples of Bengal, right from the length of north to south, all over, where all they are dotted. I am trying to go into the interiors, taking my car, talking to people, and capturing those details of the temples, because now they are terracotta and they are standing from the 16th century onwards, and gradually they are going away from us. So how can I justify a terracotta temple wall in black and white? So at times, there again, I have tried to capture those images in color, because the terracotta color is very important. Similarly, when I was shooting in Theyyam in South Kerala, it's a festival over there, a dance festival, where so few people from a certain community, they enact gods. They prepare themselves as Vishnu Murti and other deities, and they enact. So the whole festival is so colorful that if I do not show the colors, I will not be able to justify the mood of that space. So I have shot that in color. Then again, I am following a festival called Hola Mohalla, which will happen somewhere around just nearby only during the holy season. So it is in Punjab. So that is, to me, it's, I have named it as Tales of Valor, because they show the Nihangs, they are showing their valor, because no more there are wars, but they have to continue practicing their all the gatka and other things. They're riding the horses without any saddle, with two horses, one leg and one horseback and the other one. So they are practicing all those kind of things and they perform over there. So I decided to take the whole story in black and white. So a friend who's in New York, who's a very good photographer over there, who has also done a similar body of work. So he wrote to me once when he saw my images in one of the exhibitions online. He said that you have taken the courage of showing this colorful event in black and white. So it is totally intuitive.
That's very interesting. And also, all these traditions, festivals, they're all fading away. Someone has to put them across. And I think that's a very, very important function that, you are performing vis-a-vis art photography. What is your take on the cultural scene, the culture and art scene in India?
See, it has its own space. It is going. It is an own space. People are doing things. There are organizations who are organizing. Most important for me is that an artist in any form, any medium, it's their practice which is more important. If you are practicing your art regularly, then you will come somewhere in that platform where the cultural and the other parts are happening, and you will be get connected towards to that platform.
Yeah, and also you carry whatever you've done in the past, you carry that with you in the present. And
Yes.
an example would be your abstract photography, how you're carrying your passion for watercolors and art into the way you are looking at, certain objects and visualizing them. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, see, as I told you that in my college days, I used to love to do a lot of watercolors, and I was regularly practicing. But post that, with my pressure of work and other things, I couldn't continue. So I picked up camera. So what I feel is that I have changed my tool. Instead of a paint and brush and paper, I have picked up my camera. So I tried to see things which are painterly through my camera, and I try to frame them the way I can compose them and make them as much close to a painting kind of a feel to my image. And that satisfies me, and I try to do those semi-abstract works which I do other than my documentary works. So they are exhibited also in art shows and all. So that gives me a complete satisfaction that yes, I'm able to connect with what I'm trying to have a language of my own in that genre.
Yeah, I was thinking of your photographs, like of the prayer drum or of Lalit Kala, if you could, tell
Oh
us a
yes,
bit
yes.
about that.
See, the prayer drum image is very, very interesting. Many people have mistook it too with an out of focus image. So this was when I was traveling during my years of traveling to Ladakh. I was there inside a monastery, and there was a prayer drum which was being played by the monks who were chanting regularly, and they were beating the drums over there. So I was actually sitting for more than half an hour just seeing them just playing the drum. And there was after they beat the drum, there was a resonance which I could feel. So I thought that what will be the best way I can capture that resonance in my image. Uh, so I thought that I'll keep the drum uh, slightly out of focus and keep the wall of the monastery in complete focus so that I can feel that as if it is resonating. So that is what it's actually breaking the rules. Your main subject should
Hmm.
always be in focus. That is what photography says. See, that is what I mean, that is what my intuition says, and that is what I love doing. And similarly, you mentioned another work. Which one you
The
said?
Lalit
Lalit
Kala.
Kala. That was a very interesting event which happened. There was a Delhi Public Library had put up an exhibition in the grounds of Lalit Kala, New Delhi. So there was some short circuit or something which happened at night, and the whole setup, which was a temporary setup, was charred, completely gone. And the very next day, before anyone could cordon that space, I was there with my camera. And believe me, I got some such interesting semi-abstract images which were talking something absolutely apart from, though that was a very sad incident which has happened. but I was trying to see within that space and try to find out my own language of photography, what I want to capture from there. I don't want to show that, oh, see, this is totally charred, it's burned, and showing the whole space, and people are. No, that was not my aim. My aim was to pick out some interesting semi-abstract images out of that space, and I recently had shown those works during the Delhi Art Week in Siddharth Tagore's art gallery, an art consult.
Yes, they were like very, very fascinating.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Coming back to some more interesting events, which as a layperson, I would really associate with, that is street photography. Uh, how do you approach if there is a subject there and you want to click a photograph? Um, do you think, have you had any incidents where people have objected because they are not used to the culture here in India, or the culture of street photography? And do you think that if you would do the same internationally, there is a difference?
It's very important. In India, people are not used to such kind of interactions, especially with photographers. And of late, things are people try to just overpower your subject, and subject gets not used to. They are not ready for all these kind of things. So that is where our training of during our college days comes into action, where we were asked to sit back and see and get used to that space, get the subject familiarized with yourself. They should be very much cordial to you so they can give you the best of your expressions. So that is what I do. I can remember a very interesting incident when I was in a Baithak of Kumbh. So normally, whenever the Kumbh, Mahakumbh or Ardh Kumbh happens, there is a Baithak of the Samaj which they sit and they decide that how all the things are going to happen. So there was um, a tent of Aghoris who had come from Madhya Pradesh. So I was there, I went there, I sat there, I waited for them to see me, to interact with me, to ask me that why I'm not taking the images. Because normally what happens whenever a photographer is there, he's very curious to immediately take a few images and try and finish it up at a rush and move. That also happens at times when we hardly get any chance to actually decide. We have to just take continuous shots so that, and then we decide that which one is the best one. But at times we have to wait to interact so that you get the best of the interaction with them. So one of the sadhu Maharaji who was sitting inside the camp, others were performing kriya outside. They performed different kriyas. So they were so he called me. He said that beta tum yahan pe aaye ho, tum baithe हुए हो जब से, तो आप क्या तस्वीरें लेने के लिए आए हैं, क्या करने आए हैं? मैं तस्वीरें लेने आया हूँ महाराज जी, पर मैं देखना चाहता हूँ कि पहले मैं समझना चाहता हूँ अनजाने में मैं क्या लूँगा और मैं वो क्या दिखाऊंगा, वो भी एक मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. मैं उससे हटके काम नहीं करना चाहता हूँ. तो देन वी स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग. उन्होंने फिर मेरे को उनके जो शिष्यों से इंट्रोड्यूस कराया. फिर उन्होंने स्पेशली कुछ परफॉर्मेंसेस किए जो कि वहाँ पे वो क्रिया कर रहे थे, और वो तरह तरह के अलग अलग उसमें शंख बजा रहे, कोई वो उपले होते हैं जो काउडंग उससे बनाते हैं, वो उनके चारों तरफ सजाते हैं, देन दे बर्न देम विद अ घड़ा ऑन देयर हेड, कवर्ड देयर फेस एंड डूइंग क्रियाज, एंड आल्सो आई शॉट एट लेंथ विद देम. सो दीज थिंग्स you have to have patience. My main objective is that one should keep patience, otherwise your subject will get disturbed. And if your subject is disturbed, then you won't get that what you want to.
Absolutely. You will also not get into the quick of the moment.
Yes.
And capture that moment, which is so important.
So important. So there are two different phases. There are certain places where we need to sit and watch, and there are certain places where you have to rush in because you will lose that moment if you are not quick enough. So that you have to learn by practice.
Yes. It's been so wonderful talking with you. Just a few more questions, one or two. First of all, what was your experience with Jai Zarotia ji?
Oh, he was a very dear sir to us, and he was never very strict, but he was very firm in saying that, "अरे भाई काम कर लो," which we as students we always used to कि थोड़ा साइड से निकल गए, अरे तुमने अपना वो नहीं एक्सपोज किया अभी, हाँ सर अभी कर रहे हैं, बट those professors were so nice, so friendly, हर कोई अपना एक स्पेस देते थे, और सबसे मज़े की बात होती थी कि हम उनको काम करते हुए देखते थे। हम कॉलेज में जाते थे हर रोज़ सुबह उठ के इस आशा से कि आज हम जय जोरडिया सर को काम करते हुए देखेंगे, वो थोड़ा कुछ स्क्रिबल कर रहे हैं, वही हमारे लिए एक बहुत बड़ी शिक्षा होती थी। इट्स नॉट नेसेसरी दैट कि वो क्या कर रहे हैं, वो तो अपने में कर रहे हैं, मगर हम उनको जो करते हुए देखते थे, इट वाज अ बिग इंस्पिरेशन फॉर अस कि काश हम किसी दिन इस तरह का एक लाइन भी खींचना हमें आ जाए तो मज़ा आ जाएगा। सो दैट वाज व्हाट आवर रिलेशन विद आवर प्रोफेसर्स वर। हम धीराज चौधरी सर के रूम में बाहर चुपके से खड़े रहते थे, थोड़ा सा दरवाज़ा खुला था, हम उसी से देखते थे कि वो एक बड़ा सा कैनवस में एकदम स्पॉन्टेनियसली पेंट कर रहे हैं और एकदम रैंडम कलर्स लगा रहे हैं। तो वो चीज़ों को जब तक आप एक आर्टिस्ट दूसरे एक सीनियर आर्टिस्ट को काम करते हुए नहीं देखेंगे, आप कुछ सीख नहीं पाएंगे पूरी तरह से।
And finally, what does art mean to you?
Practice, a lot of dedication, and keeping faith in yourself. That is very important. क्या होता है आजकल जो है ना, थोड़ा सब कुछ थोड़ा जल्दीबाजी में हो रहा है कि अभी हम कॉलेज में गए, अभी हम निकल आए, अभी हमने एग्जीबिशन किया और हम लोग इतने बड़े एक अमाउंट में हम काम को बेच रहे हैं तो हम बड़े आर्टिस्ट हो गए। नो, you have to wait, you have to watch, you have to keep faith in yourself and do what you feel is important for you. Your intuition is very, very important. You have to talk to yourself. That is very important. We don't talk to ourselves anymore. हम लोग दूसरी की बातों को सुनते हैं और हम उसी लाइन में चलते हैं। वो ज़रूरी है, दूसरी बातें सुनना, it's important, but at the same time you have to listen to yourself also, because you are getting trained as an artist in an art college where you are giving your 4 years of your life learning things, and if you have not learned enough then you cannot perform well. So you have to be very patient, and discipline, dedication, all these things are the key words for me, at least, that how one can progress.
So, what do you think of this initiative of Chaibrary?
See, Jyoti, being a documentary photographer, and I am from the beginning, I'm talking about the responsibility of being a photographer, being a painter, being a dancer, any mode. Chaibrary is a platform which is doing their responsibility to the society as a whole. Being artist, you are painting. Being a photographer, you are taking images. A poet is writing his poetry. So they are all in their own zones. They are not, well, they are not meant to come in the forefront to talk about themselves. But the platform Chaibrary is actually, it's just like a necklace of beads. He's putting all the beads together in one and presenting it in a very beautiful form. And that is very, very important in today's world, because so many things are happening and so many good things are happening. So who's taking that responsibility to showcase all that together? So this is what I feel Chaibrary is doing a fantastic job with, and I congratulate the whole team of Chaibrary for the initiative they are taking.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. It has been absolutely wonderful having you here on this episode of Chaibrary. Thank you so much for listening in, and please do stay tuned in for further episodes on Chaibrary. Thank you.